right wing wiring installation. So the project that we just finished working on is running the wire to the wingtip for the nav strobe lights for the wingtips, which are the Arrow LEDs. So that's the white bundled wire. Working on the Arrow LED wingtip nav strobe lights installation. So we have the fiberglass wingtip pieces in place on both the left and the right wing, and these pieces don't have a flat mounting surface for the lights because a variety of different lights were used for the T-51. So we'll do a little bit of potentially of fiberglass work or filler work to make it work with the lights. So essentially what we've already done at this point is we found the leading edge on the top and the bottom, and we marked that, and we used a flexible straight edge to run that line from the front to the back. We have it overlapped a little bit extra, but pretty close to where it will rest when we do the final installation. And then we ran that line all the way around from front or from top to bottom, and then we marked halfway, and that's the halfway mark there. So that is where the lights will be mounted, and what we're doing now is just finding the size holes so we can temporarily install them in place just to see what the fit looks like for flushness. The Arrow LED NSP lights. So the way this works is the mounting bracket gets mounted to the wingtip. There's the three circular attachment points, and they're all grooved on the front. And the way that works is once this is riveted in place on the wing, you take the light and you line it up, put the holes in the slots, and then what happens is you push it back so that slides forward into the groove and locks into place, and this hex bolt here spins in and it pushes against that and holds the light into place. So that's how that works. Pretty cool, pretty slick. So just figuring out where to mount these and start drilling our holes to put everything together. Continue work on the Arrow LED LEDs. So we've mocked it up, have the holes big enough to be able to fit. Decided not to use nut plates, but we're going to use nylock nuts on the back of the screws. Tried a couple different solutions for this, so when we get it on there and it locks into place in the back, so it's locked into place, a little bit of a gap. We tried using a rubber washer, and unfortunately, while it fits, when it curves, we're still gonna have a gap. I'm gonna do a thicker piece, but in the back it's too tight. So what we've decided to do is I'm gonna go ahead and use some fiberglass filler Bondo, and we're gonna build that up so it's nice and flat there, and then sand it out so it matches the contour. Gives us a nice flat surface to mount to, and it's pretty sturdy. It doesn't rock at all. It just fills in all the gaps and makes it look good. So this is attempt number 1 at building up a base for the Arrow LED LEDs. It didn't work exactly as we're hoping. We're going to see how it works out. Let it dry, and then we'll sand it out. I think we need to build it up a little bit more, so we're going to try making a mold around it to allow it to build up a little thicker. The Arrow LED nav strobe lights are installed. Ended up going through a couple iterations of trying to resolve the mounting hardware issue. Ultimately, the when we tried to use the epoxy resin fiberglass method, it didn't work. We couldn't get a good adhesion. Probably could have sanded it more, but ultimately also just didn't like the way it was fitting. The brackets worked really well. Just the big issue was the gap on the edge of the light, and there's no structural value there because it doesn't actually push against anything. So I actually ended up finding a really good solution with some sealant. It's a foam sealant for doors. Got it at Lowe's. It's a gray color, so it matches pretty good. It'll match the paint. And this is just a rough end. That's cut a little bit rough, but you can see that it fills that gap, and it works pretty good because it's compressible at different depths. So where it's a little bit wider, it's okay, and then where it's needs to be thinner on the back end, it compressed. So works pretty good. The other light with the second one, it always turns out good. Ultimately, this first iteration will have to come off because I've got to take it off for painting, but ultimately works pretty good. Just need a nice sharp razor and that'll clean up, and it works really, really well. Fills all the gap in. So that is done. Just need to get a crimping tool to be able to do the cables and get all the lights hooked up, but otherwise wingtips are in place as far as I can. I need to get the wingtips or the wings on the center section so I can attach the aileron and the flaps, and that way I can get all the brackets on the back side lined up perfectly, and then the wingtips can be adjusted to fit against the aileron, that outer piece. So working on the wing attachments for the fake 50 caliber guns. So we have both the fiberglass pieces that have been made up, and then we have the gun ports here. So each gun port will be placed on the inside of the fiberglass piece. Then on the outside there's a ring screw that goes on. And the last one has a collar here that slides behind the nut. It's machined out. Oops. Machined out so it fits perfectly, and when it goes on it'll screw into place and hold the collar, and that will give us those. So next step is to drill those out so we can get the inside pieces placed, and then we'll put the outside pieces on, and those will be ready to be cleaned up at a later date and then installed. We aren't going to put those on the wings at this point in time because it'll mess up the way the wing sits in the cradle, but once we have the wings out and installed on the airplane, we'll mount those. Alright, so we're working on the left wing gun attachment, and Stormy's got it all figured out. We did the right wing already, so the system's all figured out. So she's got centered marked, and she's going to go ahead and drill all of them. Now she's going to upsize the hole. And the last step is to use a step drill bit and enlarge the holes. Don't come round and waste my time. A generation of my time. There is nothing we can do. Stop this plague from breaking through. Don't come around and waste my time. Those all drilled out. Now throw the fake gun pieces in. All right, now we have a wing over here. Let's go throw it on the wing and see what it's gonna look like. Nope, down this way. The wing that's on the airplane. Put it on right there like that. And that's where it will go. About right there. Perfect. That is awesome. Good job.